Okay, now I wanted to give you a break from all the boxes, so I drew them myself on everybody's. So, what we're going to do, what we need to do is solve the equation. We have to actually, factoring is just part of it. So once I get down to here, I got to find the two answers. Now, the reason I know there are two answers is because when I look through that equation, I see x to the second and x to the first. I put that 1 there. So with these two, there's two answers because that's your highest power. Okay, and there's also x to the first. So when I have two different powers, I have to make sure the equation's equal to 0. And this equation is equal to 0. So if you see equals 0, write the word set. Okay, that means it's all set up for your boxes. Okay, if it's not equal to 0 and you have x to the second and x to the first, then you have some work to do, but that doesn't happen on today's assignment. Okay. Okay, so GCF, there's no negative in front, you have x on both, so we take the smaller power, okay, just like that, and then 7 and 21, I go here, and I have a GCF of 7, okay, so 7x to the first has to come out here, put a parentheses around it, and then I go divide by 7x to the first. Okay, now 7 divided by 7 is 1, and then on x, we take 2 minus 1, which is 1, and then we take negative 21 divided by positive 7, that's negative 3. So I put minus 3, okay? Now the difference of perfect squares, okay? And you have that sheet. So remember the things you check for. Now you cross this out because you're not looking there, because you're looking at these two things. Now, is your x even to the second power? No, it's not. It's to the first. So this is an NP. Okay, so I'm done factoring. Now, here's what I do. I go up here and I take out the first powers. Okay, if they're 1 powers, we don't need them. And this is known as F1, and this is known as F2. We set each one of those equal to 0. So I go 7x equals 0. And then 1x minus 3 equals 0. And then I'm going to get my two answers. I dot both of my x's and circle. There's no plus or minus here. We go straight to dividing by 7. Now 0 divided by 7 is 0. So that's your first answer. Now here you got a minus. I'll do the opposite of minus 3, which is plus 3. So 1 times x equals 3. Then I'm going to divide by 1. And then 3 divided by 1 is 3, okay? And those are your two answers. That's how you get them. You use your factoring to get the two answers. That's the point of factoring. Okay, so now here, look at what I had for x's. I had x to the second and x to the first, okay? So I know there's two answers, but with both these powers, I need to have equals 0. And I do, so I write set. If it's not set, then you got another problem, which you don't really see on this assignment. You'll see it in the coming days. So the GCF, I do not have the negative in the front. I don't have x on all my lines because 63 doesn't have one. And then 1, 2, and 63, the GCF is just 1. So if the GCF is just 1, we're just not going to bother with that step. But now I go to my table. So I leave what I have. I don't cross it out. So I connect the A to the C. And I multiply 1 by negative 63. That's 63 negative. So what we want to do is minus then, and we need to minus to 2, and 2 is a negative, okay? So eventually you do everything. I'm going to tell you what the T-charts are going through today. Eventually if you divide 63 by 7, you get 9, because 9 minus 2 is 7 is 2, so it's these two. Now the 2 being negative like it is means we'll have negative 9. We have a negative up there, so the signs have to be opposite, so positive 7. Now A, where I put A is a 1. 1x to the second, so it's going to be 1x. I'm going to start off with 1x and 1x. And then plus 7 minus 9. Okay, now 1 and 7 is 1, okay, so dividing these by 1, we'll just keep it the same. And then 1 and 9, remember you can't do negative, it's got to be 1 and 9, is 1 as well. So it's 1x minus 9. Okay, now, you didn't have a GCF. If you do, it has to come down here. But right now, this is my F1, this is my F2 down here then. So F1, 1x plus 7 equals 0, and then F2, 1x minus 9 could equal 0. So I dot my x's and circle them, and then I minus 7, minus 7. So I take 0 minus 7, that'd be negative 7. So 1 times x equals negative 7. And when you divide by 1, it just stays negative 7. And then plus 9, plus 9. So 1 times x equals 9. And then divide by 1, and 9 divided by 1 is 9. So it's these two. Those are the two answers to the equation for the x variable. So when you have x second and x to 1, you have to have equals 0 so that you can set up your boxes. Okay, now this one you don't see any boxes because you're not going to use them. Okay, because when I look through this, I don't have x to the second. I just have regular x only. So there's only one answer I need to find. So what I do, I have x on each side, so I pick an x to get rid of. I'm going to pick the 4. Now it's plus 4 if you don't have a sign automatically. So I'm going to minus 4x, and then I would minus 4x from 2x. Okay, so 2 minus 4 is negative 2, and then plus 3 equals positive 10. Now you just do a dot and circle, and then you minus 3. 10 minus 3 is 7. And then you divide both sides by negative 2. So there was no need to factor. Okay, this is like a last year's problem. And that's your one answer. Okay, so if you don't have x to the second, there's only one answer. And you don't have to factor. You don't have to do all this crap with the boxes. Okay, now my next one, 4x to the second minus 12x minus 7, 0. Now the highest power is at 2, so that's two answers. Now I've also got x to the second, and I've also got x to the first. So with those two, we need to see the equals 0. That's an equals 0 there, so we can factor, okay? We do have the equals 0, so we're set. So now I go into my boxes, okay? Actually, it's got to be set before you even make the boxes, but since I was nice and made them for you, we're good. So the GCF, negative in front, nope. Do you have x on everything? Nope, don't put x. And then 4, 12, and 7. The GCF's 1, so I'm not going to go through with that. A, B, and C. So I'm going to be taking positive 4 times negative 7. That's negative 28. So negative 28 is a minus problem, and I'm trying to get the minus to be 12, which is negative. Now, you doing this on your own, you'd list them, okay? But I'm going to tell you what they are because everybody knows how to do that now. So 28 divided by 2 is 14, and 14 minus 2 is 12. Once again, you still do 128, doesn't work, cross it out, and so forth, okay? I'm just helping you through the packet to get done quicker. So 12 being negative means 14 is negative. And we have a negative up there, so the signs again have to be opposite. So the opposite of negative is positive. Okay, now A up there is 4x to the second, so we're going to go 4x and 4x. And then plus 2 minus 14. Okay, so 4 and 2, we find what the greatest common factor is. And that's 2, okay? So we divide by 2. That's 2x plus 1. 4 and 14, the greatest common factor is 2, so I'm going to divide by 2. That's 2x minus 7, okay? There was no GCF to put down here, so this is my F1 times my factor 2. And again, this is equal to 0, okay? So you set each one equal to 0 separately. So 2x plus 1 equals 0, and 2x minus 7 equals 0. So dot your x's, circle them, and then we minus 1, minus 1. So 0 minus 1 is not 0, okay? It's negative 1. So 2 times x equals negative 1. Then I divide by 2. And negative 1 divided by 2 is negative 0.5. And then plus 7, so 2 times x equals 7, and then divide 7 by 2. And 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. It's like you're taking a big equation and making it into two simpler equations. That's what factoring accomplishes. Okay, now my next page. Again, we have two terms, so GCF. We don't have the and again, before I get into the boxes, let me explain what's going on here. You look at your x's, and the highest power is at 2. That means there's two answers. There has to be two solutions. And I have x second and x to the first. So with those two different powers, we need the equation equal to 0 so we can do the box junk, okay? And then we do have the equals 0, so we're set. Okay, GCF, I do not have the negative in front. I do have x on each of my two terms, so I do want to put x to the first power there. And then I'd go 7 and 14. And I get 7, okay? Okay, so 7x to the first comes out here. Put a parentheses around it. And then we divide by 7x first and 7x to the first. Remember, anytime we put the x in the GCF, you got to also divide by x's too. So 7 divided by 7 is 1, and then on x, 2 minus 1 is 1. Then negative 14 divided by 7 is negative 2, so minus 2. And then since these are the same power, I just don't worry about them. Now your dots is NP because look at these two. You don't look there anymore. Look at these two. You got x is not to the second power, so right away I know that's not possible. If it's x to first, it can't be done. So I come up here and I eliminate my first powers, and these are the two parentheses. This is F1 and this is F2. So F1, 7x could equal 0, and F2, 1x minus 2 could equal 0. So I dot my x's. Here I go straight to the divide, okay? So I divide 0 by 7. That's 0. Then I plus 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. And then divide by 1. And 2 divided by 1 is 2. So 0 and 2 are the two answers. Okay, my next one. Again, I looked at the equation. The x second says there's two answers. Got to find them both. And I have x second and x to the 1. So we need to factor, okay? So do we have it equal to 0? Sure we do. Okay, it's there. So we're set, okay? And now I go into my boxes steps. GCF, do I have a negative in front? No. Do I have x on everything? Nope, not on 12. And then 1, 7, and 12. The GCF's 1, okay? So having a 1 GCF means I just don't do the step. And then I go A, B, C from up here. I can't do it from in here. I didn't do anything, okay? So I take positive 1 times positive 12, and this is a positive. So since it's positive, we're adding to get to 7, 7 positive. And again, I'll go through the chart. 1 and 12, that does not add to 7. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Okay, that's 8. That's close, but it ain't going to work. So 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And I'm pretty sure if I write 3 down in the answer I got, that makes 7 when I add. Okay, so 7 positive means 4 is positive. We have a positive up there, so the signs have to be the same. Okay, to multiply to a positive, the signs have to be the same. Now, A up there is 1x to the second, so again, I can just get, I make two parentheses, and then 1x, 1x, and then plus 3, plus 4. Okay, and the GCF calculator, remember when 1's one of the numbers that you enter in, it's always going to give you a GCF of 1. So divide by 1, it'll stay the same, 1x plus 3. Okay, 1 and 4. That's a 1, divide by 1, and that stays 1x plus 4. Okay, so I didn't have a factor there. I have these two down here. So this is F1, this is F2, and they always equal 0. That's why you have to set it equal to 0. So 1x plus 3 could equal 0, or 1x plus 4 could equal 0. Dot your x's and circle them, and then minus 3. So I take 0 minus 3, that's negative 3. And then divide by 1. Negative 3 divided by 1 is negative 3. Now minus 4. Okay, 0 take away 4 is going to be negative 4. And then divide by 1. Negative 4, dividing by 1 just keeps you at the same number, okay? So this is how you use that factoring stuff to solve equations, okay? Now, again, you got to be looking for these equations. There's no second power. There's no power at all. So there's just one answer because I just have regular x only. So since I have regular x on both sides, I just get rid of one of the x's. So this 8 would be plus. So I'm going to minus 8x and minus 8x from 3x. So 3 minus 8 is negative 5x plus your 4 equals 7. Now you just dot and then do your thing. Minus first. So 7 minus 4 is 3. And then it's time to divide by negative 5. Okay, because those cancel. So it's really just whatever 3 divided by negative 5 is, which is negative 0.6. And that's the only possible solution for x. Okay, now the next one, I see second power, so there's got to be two answers. And I see a second power with a first power. Now some of you are wondering, what do you do if it's x second only? Well, I'll teach you that eventually. Okay, you're not going to need the boxes. But for now, when we have these two different powers, we need to see the equals 0. It is, so we're set, okay? Okay, now factor it. GCF, do you have the negative in front? Nope. Do you have x on every line? Nope, not on the 8. And then 5, 3, and 8 give me a GCF of 1, okay? So if the GCF's 1, I'm not going to bother with it. Then I do my ABC labels. I take positive 5 times negative 8. 40, it's negative 40, so it'd be a minus problem to try to get two factors at minus to 3. Keep in mind 3 is negative when I go to put the signs on the numbers I find. Okay, you'd fail until you divided 40 by 5, because 40 divided by 5 is 8, okay? And 8 minus 5 is 3. Again, when you're doing this on your own, go through the numbers, but I'm just going to speed it up. So 3 negative means 8's negative. We have a negative product, so the signs are opposite. Okay, now a up there is 5x to the second. So again, I make two lines of parentheses. I start off with 5x. By the way, don't put x to the second here or here, okay? Plus 5 minus 8. Okay, so 5 and 5, that does not stay the same, okay? 5 and 5 have the greatest common factor of 5, of course, because they're both divisible by 5, and that's 1x plus 1. Now, in the other one, 5 and 8, that'd be 1 again, okay? So you divide by 1, 5x minus 8. Okay, now I have my two factors. Do I have a third one? Sometimes you got 3, but I don't have anything here, so I have F1, F2. And those equal 0, okay? So I set each one equal to 0. So 1x plus 1 equals 0, because that's where your 0 was. You just took these three terms and rewrote them, okay? So you could see it better. Okay, so dot your x's, both of them. And then minus, so 1 times x equals negative 1, divide by 1, it's negative 1, plus 8, 0 plus 8 is 8, Divide by 5. 8 divided by 5 is 1.6. Okay, next problem. Again, I see x to the second. That makes 2 answers. So x second, and we got x to the first, so we need to have our 0. It's there, so it's set. So there were 2 terms then that I underlined. I never underlined 0, just these, whatever's over here. That's 2 terms, so GCF and DOPS. Help me out, set the parentheses up there. So GCF, now I do have a negative here because the first number's negative, so the GCF's negative. Now you also have x on both your terms. Take the smaller one out. And then 16 and 80, the GCF is 16. So I'm going to divide by negative 16x to the first. We'll want to put a parentheses around that. Okay, and then negative 16 divided by negative 16 is positive 1. Then the x would be to the first, because 2 minus 1 is 1. Then I take negative 80 divided by negative 16. So that's 5. That's positive 5. So that is plus 5, and we can ignore the x's because they're both the same power. Okay. So for the DOPS, look up here, x isn't even to the second power, so that makes it NP again. Okay, so your factors are up here. Get those first powers out of there. This is why you get rid of the first powers, so it's not as confusing. Okay, you got your F1, F2. It has to be a first power to get rid of it. So it's equal to 0, so I set each factor individually equal to 0. So negative 16x could equal 0, or 1x plus 5 could equal 0. So dot your x, circle, dot your x, circle. So I divide by negative 16. You go straight to dividing. Okay, 0 divided by negative 16. 0. Plus 5, you minus 5, minus 5. So 1 times x equals, it'll be negative 5. Then you divide by your 1. And then negative 5 divided by 1 is negative 5. So again, those are the 2 solutions. Okay, next one. I see x second, so that's 2. And with the x to the second, we have an x to the first. Okay, so we have to get the equation equal to 0. We're there. Okay. So GCF, negative in front, nope. X on everything, nope. 1, 3, and 18. What's it going to tell me? What's it going to tell me when 1's one of the numbers I enter in? It's going to be 1. So forget that. So I don't really go to work, get to do anything until my table. And I take positive 1 times negative 18. That's 18 negative. So I got a negative, so I'm going to minus to equal 3. Now 3 is negative. Okay, 1 and 18, nope. Now 18 divided by 2 is 9. 9 minus 2 is not 3. The next one's going to work because I divide by 3, I get 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. Got it. So 3 is negative, that means 6 is negative, and we have a negative up there, so that's opposite, okay? Okay, now A is 1. X to the second, so again, so 1x plus 3 minus 6. Okay, so 1 and 3, that's 1, okay? So dividing it by 1 just keeps it where it is. So that's your factor in simplest terms. And then 1 and 6 is 1, okay? Okay, so this is your F1, this is your F2, okay? And again, you put equals 0 when you label your F, because the F's are how you get your answers. So 1x plus 3 could equal 0, or 1x minus 6 could equal 0. So I dot my x's. So minus 3, 1 times x. Okay, 0 minus 3 is going to be negative 3. And then divide by your 1. Negative 3 divided by negative 1 keeps it at, by 1 keeps it at negative 3. And then plus 6 plus 6. Remember, dividing a number by 1 just keeps it at 6, because it's like you're dividing $6, but you're the only person, so you get all 6. Okay, on my next problem. You don't see the boxes because you don't need them. Okay, it's simple as that. You do not need them because you just have x. You don't have a second power. It's just regular x, so there's one answer because you have only x. You have it on both sides, so what you do is pick one of them. I'm going to pick this, put a sign on it, it's plus, and then get rid of it. Subtract 3x, use the subtraction property of equality. So 7x minus 3x is 4x plus 6 equals 2, and then that leaves me with a simple dot. Minus 6, and then divide whatever that is by 4. So 2 minus 6 is negative 4. Divide by 4, divide by 4. Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. Okay, now help me out a little bit. You look through that equation, you see x to the second, so there's two answers. So with more than one answer, I come up here. I put x to the second, and are there any other powers of x? Yeah, this one would be to the first. So with these two, we need to see the 0 and then go to the boxes. So the 0's there, so we're set. If we're not set, that's another different issue. And now I factor. So there are 3 terms to factor. The negative is not in the front. X is not on everything, not on 18. And then 3, 3, and 18. It's 3. Okay, so we can actually do a GCF of just 3. Okay. Okay, now I'm not dividing by 3x, just 3. So that's going to stay x second. That's x to the first. So that's 1x to the second. Negative 3, and then negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1. So minus 1x to the first. And then negative 18 divided by 3 is negative 6. So minus 6. So we can ignore that. And then the ABC is here. Okay. Instead of up top. So 1 times negative 6, that's negative 6. So this is a minus, and I'm trying to minus to equal 1, which is a negative. 1 and 6, nope. 2 and 3, yep. Okay, 3 minus negative 1, so that means your 3 is minus, okay. You have a negative, so the signs have to be the opposite, okay. Now what's your A? A is now 1x to the second, so I can put 1x, 1x, and then plus 2 minus 3. Okay, so 1 and 2, the GCF is 1. So it'll stay the same. Then 1 and 3, the GCF's 1, so that just stays the same. But you actually did a GCF, 3. So you need to put your 3 right here. Now you're asking, what do you do? There's 3 of them. I only need 2 answers. Well, this one without an x, the 3 does not have an x with it, so it's a worthless factor, okay? If it would have been 3x, it would be worth something, but it's worthless without the x. So F1, F2. So 1x plus 2 could equal 0. 1x minus 3 could equal 0. So dot your x's. Minus 2, minus 2. Negative 2, so now that side's at negative 2, and then I divide by 1, which will just keep it at negative 2. Plus 3, 1 times x equals 3. Dividing by 1 just keeps it at 3. Okay.